The first human colony on Mars. How will it actually work? Are we truly ready to survive on Mars? Do we really want to, or are we just fooling ourselves? The idea of colonizing the red planet has captivated scientists, entrepreneurs, and dreamers alike. But beyond the glossy headlines and sci-fi fantasies, how feasible is it really? Could humans truly build a thriving society in one of the most hostile environments imaginable? The dream of setting foot on Mars has been a part of human ambition for decades. But as technology advances, what once seemed impossible now feels inevitable. With SpaceX, NASA, and international space agencies all racing toward interplanetary colonization, discussions about how humans will actually live on Mars have shifted from science fiction to concrete planning. But how will a Martian colony function? And what obstacles stand in the way of making it a reality? For centuries, explorers have pushed the limits of survival, from crossing vast oceans to setting foot on the moon. But Mars presents an entirely different challenge: a barren wasteland with no breathable air, extreme radiation, and temperatures that would freeze a human solid in minutes. Establishing a permanent settlement isn't just about launching rockets. It's about solving the immense challenges of food production, resource management, and long-term sustainability. So, what would a human colony on Mars actually look like? We're going to break down the key components of survival, from building the first habitats to creating a self-sustaining ecosystem. And there's one unexpected challenge that might be even bigger than surviving the harsh conditions, one that could determine whether Mars colonization is truly possible. Stay with us and find out. How will colonists survive the hostile environment on Mars? Could the average human survive even one day on Mars? The red planet is not just cold, it's deadly. With an average temperature of -80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is -62 degrees Celsius, unprotected exposure would lead to instant hypothermia. But extreme cold isn't the only issue. The thin Martian atmosphere is composed mostly of carbon dioxide, meaning there's no oxygen to breathe. And the lack of atmospheric pressure would cause human blood to boil without a pressurized suit. Radiation is another silent killer. Unlike Earth, Mars has no strong magnetic field to protect it from harmful cosmic and solar radiation. A colonist on the surface would receive radiation doses equivalent to about 250 times what we experience on Earth. Over time, this exposure could lead to cancer, neurological disorders, and severe DNA damage, making long-term habitation a significant medical risk. Then there's the issue of dust storms. Martian dust isn't just annoying, it's toxic. The fine particles contain perchlorates, or chemicals that can be hazardous to human health. These storms can last for weeks, covering entire regions in darkness and blocking solar energy. It would be a disaster for a colony dependent on solar power. The bottom line? Surviving on Mars means overcoming an environment that is actively trying to kill you. Colonists would need heavily shielded habitats, radiation-resistant suits, and pressurized transport vehicles to move safely outside. And even then, no amount of preparation can eliminate the risks entirely. Is there a blueprint for survival? How do you build a city on a planet with no resources? Unlike Earth, Mars has no forests, no oceans, and no naturally occurring materials that would be suitable for construction. Everything a colony needs, air, water, shelter, and energy, must be either brought from Earth or produced using local resources. NASA and SpaceX propose using 3D-printed habitats. They'd be built from Martian regolith or soil to create structures that can withstand radiation and extreme temperatures. These domes would be pressurized and filled with oxygen generated from the breakdown of CO2 using MOXIE, a technology already being tested on Mars by NASA's Perseverance rover. Water is another challenge. There are traces of ice beneath the Martian surface, but extracting and purifying it requires specialized technology. Some scientists propose using nuclear reactors to generate heat and melt subsurface ice. Others suggest harvesting water from the thin atmosphere through chemical processes. Without a steady supply, long-term survival is impossible. Powering the colony is equally crucial. While solar panels may work in normal conditions, prolonged dust storms could render them useless. Some experts believe small nuclear reactors like NASA's Kilopower project could provide a more stable energy source. This would ensure continuous operation even during Martian winters. Can we grow crops on Mars? What will Martian colonists eat? Shipping food from Earth is costly and unsustainable. This means settlers must produce their own food in a closed-loop ecosystem. The biggest challenge? Martian soil is toxic and lacks essential nutrients needed for plant growth. One solution is combining hydroponics and aeroponics. Then, crops could be grown without soil in nutrient-rich water or mist environments. Scientists have already grown lettuce and potatoes in simulated Martian soil, which proves that food production on Mars is possible. But, scaling it to sustain an entire colony is another challenge. Researchers are also experimenting with genetically engineered plants that require less water, and can also survive in high radiation environments. Algae and cyanobacteria could serve a dual purpose of producing oxygen while also being a food source. Some scientists even propose insect farming, as insects require minimal resources and provide high-protein nutrition. The ultimate goal is to create a self-sustaining greenhouse, where waste is recycled into nutrients and every drop of water is conserved. Without this, Martian settlers would be completely dependent on Earth for survival, an unsustainable scenario for a permanent colony. Can colonists survive the isolation and the unknown? What happens to the human mind when it's cut off from Earth for years? The psychological toll of life on Mars could be just as dangerous as the physical challenges. Unlike astronauts on the International Space Station, who can see Earth and communicate in near real time, Mars settlers will face extreme isolation. With an average distance of 140 million miles from Earth, communication delays will range from 5 to 24 minutes. This would make conversations in real time impossible. The knowledge that there's no quick return home could lead to anxiety, depression, and an overwhelming sense of loneliness. Even short-duration missions to space have shown that astronauts struggle with sleep disorders, mood swings, and stress-related illnesses. The Martian environment, red, desolate, and unchanging, may amplify these effects. Studies of isolated environments on Earth, like Antarctic research stations, suggest that long-term confinement in extreme settings can lead to social conflicts, cognitive decline, and a decrease in teamwork efficiency. If left unchecked, these psychological effects could threaten the success of the colony itself. To combat these issues, scientists are exploring virtual reality simulations to provide colonists with familiar Earth-like environments. Regular digital interactions with loved ones, structured social activities, and psychological counseling will also be critical. Even small things like access to music, books, and recreational activities could help sustain morale. But no amount of preparation can fully simulate the reality of permanent life on Mars. This will be an experiment unlike anything humanity has ever attempted. The most significant risk? The colony itself could become fractured by interpersonal conflicts or leadership struggles. Throughout history, isolated human settlements, whether in the Arctic, on islands, or in early space missions, have seen tensions rise due to stress, resource scarcity, and personality clashes. Mars will be no different. The first settlers must be carefully selected, trained, and mentally prepared for the weight of their mission, being the first humans to build a civilization on another planet. Who will be in charge? Who gets to make the rules on Mars? Establishing a colony isn't just about survival. It's about governance. Unlike Earth, where nations have clear borders and laws, Mars presents a blank slate which raises critical questions. Who will lead? What legal system will be in place? And how do we prevent conflicts over power and resources? Currently, space law is governed by the Outer Space Treaty of 1967. It states that no country can claim sovereignty over any celestial body. However, it says nothing about private companies or independent colonies. If SpaceX or another private entity establishes the first settlement, will they control it like a corporation? Or will Mars be governed democratically, with settlers forming their own government? Another major concern is resource management and/or conflicts of interest. If one group controls access to food, water, or power, it could lead to inequality and power struggles. History has shown that frontier settlements often face disputes over leadership, resource allocation, and decision-making. Without a clear framework, Mars could become a lawless and chaotic environment where survival depends on who holds the most resources. One proposed solution is to treat Mars as an international territory, similar to Antarctica, with scientific cooperation and shared governance. However, enforcing laws 140 million miles away is impractical. Colonists will likely have to create their own self-sustaining legal and economic system, possibly even developing a Martian constitution. Whatever happens, Mars governance will be one of the most important and unpredictable aspects of colonization. For the first time, humanity will be creating a society entirely from scratch. How will colonists earn a living? What jobs will exist on Mars? Colonization isn't just about survival. It's about building a functioning economy that supports long-term habitation. For a settlement to thrive, colonists must have ways to produce, trade, and generate value, rather than rely on constant shipments from Earth. At first, most jobs will focus on construction, maintenance, and life support systems. Engineers, scientists, and medical professionals will be essential. But, as the colony grows, new industries will emerge. Space mining could be a major economic driver, with Mars' rich mineral deposits being harvested for construction materials, fuel, and possibly even export back to Earth. Tourism and research could also play a role. Wealthy individuals might pay enormous sums for a trip to Mars, much like the emerging commercial space tourism industry today. Universities and companies may fund research stations to study Martian geology, climate, and potential life forms. As infrastructure improves, local businesses, restaurants, entertainment, and even digital services could form the backbone of a true Martian economy. A major challenge will be currency and trade. Will Mars use Earth money? A digital Martian currency? Or perhaps a barter system based on resources like water and energy? Without a stable economic system, the colony could struggle with inequality and resource hoarding. The first settlers will need to create economic policies that encourage growth, prevent monopolies, and ensure fair distribution, all while facing the unique challenge of operating in deep space. Will Mars colonization succeed? What will ultimately determine its success or failure? The challenges we've explored, such as hostile conditions, food production, mental health, governance, and economics, are just the beginning. The reality is that no one knows for sure whether a permanent human settlement on Mars is truly even possible. Throughout history, ambitious human settlements have failed due to lack of resources, leadership struggles, or unforeseen environmental threats. If the first colonists cannot create a self-sustaining ecosystem, the entire mission could collapse. Even with the best technology, any major system failure, oxygen leaks, crop failures, or medical emergencies could spell disaster. Yet the potential rewards are enormous. A successful Mars colony would mark the beginning of humanity becoming a multi-planetary species. This would secure our survival against threats like asteroid impacts or global catastrophes. It would also drive technological advancements that could improve life on Earth, from renewable energy breakthroughs to sustainable living innovations. In the end, Mars colonization isn't just about science or survival. It's about the human spirit of exploration. The same drive that led us to cross oceans, reach the moon, and explore the depths of space will push us forward. Whether it happens in the next few decades or centuries, one thing is certain. The first steps on Mars will be one of the most defining moments in human history. Mars colonization is no longer just a dream. It's becoming a real possibility. But is it truly the future of humanity, or are we overestimating our capabilities? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed this deep dive into space colonization. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.